Oh, here we go. Okay, so I had some focus issues there. I think I might still be having. Hmm. Well, anyway, these are gauge pods, and I got two of them. There we go. And you can attach them to like an A pillar. So you have multiple attachment points. Um, so there's the one I've attached to it, and then there's two others there that are, um, you can see how they attach. That's what they look like. And they would go in place of this one, right? So there's an angle, in other words, to how you can attach this to an A-pillar in a car or any place, any other flat surface. And I got the pods from these guys, Campro Designs LLC. I've been searching for gauge pod for 52 millimeter gauges for the VFR, and you can see the documents here for the engine hour meter that I got from our Honda Marine. So this one is a voltmeter in the gauge pod, and this one is the engine hour meter in the same gauge pod. I got two of these things. These were 30 something bucks a piece, 32 bucks a piece, the pods. So they're not that cheap. You can get the El Cheapo kind like this, right? That goes on an A-pillar for like $6 on eBay. This isn't what I need. I got a couple of those thinking, yeah, maybe I can make those work, but they don't work. Trust me. So I'm trying to figure out where I can put these. And looking at the VFR and the dash, and the reason I chose the voltmeter for the VFR is because when I got the bike, it had 21,000 miles on it. It's a 2001 VFR 800. And I had been trying to do my homework on the motorbike so that I would be able to do whatever maintenance was necessary to keep it running for as long as I could. And those things, of course, that I can't do, I'd hope to take it to a shop to have them do the work. Well, in my endeavors to do my due diligence, I found that VFRs seem to have a bit of trouble with the charging system, the stator and the regulator rectifier and the battery, and especially the stator and the regulator rectifier. It has been said, although Honda has not admitted to it, that the wiring is substandard, and perhaps that's not the right word. Suboptimal, and as the bikes age, more resistance is introduced, by corrosion, etc., in the wiring and its connections, and then you get the regulator rectifier and or the stator misbehaving, and then either frying the battery, not charging the battery, or setting the whole bike on fire. Not good. Makes for very unhappy VFR owners. So when I bought this bike in Wisconsin and rode it home to Atlanta, it got me as far as Indianapolis before the battery died, and it was because the regulator rectifier died. And of course I didn't know that when I bought it, and fortunately I made it within 5 miles of my buddy's house in Indianapolis, so he brought another battery. We took it to his place, and then the next day we went to a Honda dealer and they did a charging system test, a very rudimentary one. They just tested the battery basically, but they said the battery was getting voltage from the charging system, so they didn't know what was wrong. Then on the trip down from Indianapolis to Atlanta, where I live, the bike died probably another 9 times, I think. I don't remember. I lost count after 4. And of course, while I was visiting Indianapolis, I bought a new battery, a Shirai lithium, and that one is still in the bike. Even though I killed it a few times, it's been resurrected a few times, and that seems to have worked At least it got us here. And then once I got here, I ordered a regulator rectifier from Rix and installed it, and I have not had any trouble since. And the reason I bought the Rix regulator rectifier is because it's plug and play. That way I didn't have to cut any wires or make any new connections, and I figured probably that would do it. But the whole reason I'm telling you all of this is because this bike did suffer from an issue with the regulator rectifier, and after I replaced that, and of course I had to replace the battery, it has been picture perfect. But I want to monitor its voltage because the bike does not have any way for me to monitor it. So if you look closely at the side of the dash, there's a flat place there, right here. And I figured, you can see the hole where the screw would go through, or the bolt. I figured if I mount it like that, that might not be so bad. And if I did that, I'd want to be able to see it, you know, while I'm riding. And then of course that makes it lopsided because only one side would have a gauge. So I bought the other gauge pod for the other side. It would just be where the engine hour meter would reside. And I figured that was the best I could come up with in the 52 millimeter size gauge. And I found the 52 millimeter gauge idea from an ST1300, Honda ST1300 forum. And I only know of one other VFR owner who has put on this particular Honda gauge, and he put his on his yellow 2000 VFR right here on this flat spot, without the gauge pod, right? And it looks, like he says, it looks dead stock, and it totally looks great. I think it's one of the best mods I've seen of a VFR. But I didn't want to drill into the fairing. I'm not a purist, but I thought it would be better if I could find someplace else. I searched and searched and came across these gauge pods, and I think they'll work. You can see there's a place for the wires to go through, and there's a set screw there that holds the gauge in place. It has 3 connections, plus, minus, and then for the light, the backlighting. Same for the engine hour meter. There are wiring harnesses for them, but I don't need them because I'm using really rudimentary connections. And I've got the directions for the engine hour meter. Where are you? Is that you? No, that's the voltmeter. Somewhere here is the... Oh, it's this one. The directions for the engine hour meter. And connecting in and wiring and all that stuff. So I'll be working on that, and we'll see how that goes.